smile. You haven't seen this in a while. Just like a bottle of wine, she's only better with time. Grown with a lot of class, I guarantee she's built to last. Sit back and take a seat for Doxy's Melodies. Come and take a ride with me and get what you need, 'cause she's the only remedy. It's Doxy's Melody. Come and take a ride with me and get what you need, 'cause she's the only remedy. It's Doxy's Melody.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Doc Z, and you're listening to Doc Z's Melodies here on Sonic Scout Radio, unleashing the sounds of tomorrow. I'm glad to be back to give you more great music from independent artists. Remember, here at Doc Z's Melodies, it is my job to make sure that your musical health is intact. So I'm glad you're back for your follow-up. Beautiful people, don't forget to reach out to me via Facebook and Instagram at Doc Z's Melodies. I got a great show coming up with great music and also a great interview with Tim McDonald. He is a former Armed Forces School of Music instructor and musician and is known in the Nashville area. But up first, we're going to enjoy this funky ride of life by DJ Gaddis.
Self for real protection.
Someone who hurt me the most. How could I know you for so long and still be a stranger? I'm someone who's supposed to be, who ought to be closest to you. They say the blood's thicker than water, but I think the water helps me float above the mist blood took me through. And I don't understand it, but I'll hold my head. I know that up above there is a friend who sent his light to take away the darkness of my disappointment, and everything is gonna be alright. Yeah. Regardless of what happens, I'm gonna shine. Gonna be the one, 'cause it's my time. This life is not yours to live, it's mine. If you can't celebrate me, move out the way. And if you won't help to elevate me, stay away. If you try to rain on my parade, step aside and let me ride. It's time for me to take this ride. This funky ride of life. It's time for me to take this ride. This funky ride of life. Yeah. Some days my eyes are filled with tears as I contemplate choices and mistakes I wish I'd never made. Then I realized that on this crazy ride, I don't want to change a thing. 'Cause I'm who I am today because of everything I've experienced. So I can't mourn for those who didn't love me. No. Nor for those who really wanted to, but didn't quite know how. And I can't be angry
That was Deidre Gaddis with This Funky Ride of Life. Up next is AJC and the Envelope Pushers with Fallen Star.
Yesterday, and it looked like it's gonna be a long one. Saw the girl of my dreams, and she looked like all that I imagined. I stood on top of the stage so high, I hope I never have to come down. Searching for forever in all of my fans' eyes. Inspirational scavenger. Do you know how to catch a falling star? It's so sad that they'll never know who you are. And I know, and your life will fade away with time. This is the fight that we fight to keep our dreams alive. Victory lives next door, but it's still not close enough. I wrote my life on this pad 1,000,000 times, feeling like I haven't seen enough. Fight with the notion this is my last time, I just might give it up. But it's all that I have when it all goes back. Gave me something to be living for. Ooh, do you know how to catch a falling star? It's so sad that they'll never know who you are. And I know, and your life will fade away with time. This is the fight that we fight to keep our dreams alive. We fight through the tears like every day is a big strife. Every verse that you rewrite, every time that you lose sight of the dream that you had in mind, you fall a little further behind. I see your face, it's alright to cry, 'cause everything's gonna be alright. Do you know how to catch a falling star? It's so sad that they'll never know who you are. And I know, and your life will fade away with time. This is the fight that we fight to keep our dreams alive. Do you know how to catch a? Do you know how to catch a? Do you know how to catch a? Falling star. Do you know how to catch a? Do you know how to catch a? Do you know how to catch a? Falling star. Do you know how to catch a falling star? It's so sad that they'll never know who you are. And I know that your light will fade away with time. It's the fight that we fight to keep our dreams alive.
You were just listening to AJC and the Envelope Pushers with a Fallen Star. Now enjoy Paige Dean and Take Me Back.
Midtown, no sound, but I'm still here. Black and white and light, all color disappeared. The dust lit down heavy
summer, summer. Take you on my mind. I could be you on my mind. Summer, 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 summer. I could be you on my mind. Inhaling, I can taste sweet nicotine. I'm addicted to your intimacy, but I swear 100 lies like you never seen my skin. Convicting thoughts I have of you, convincing like a sin. Oh, I want you back. I want you back. Please take me back. When life was a dream and you didn't mean a thing, and we were just wasting time, and I could get you off my mind. Summer, 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 summer. I could get you on my mind. Summer, 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 summer. I could get you on my mind. Take me back. I want you to take me back. I want you to take me back. I need you to take me back. When life was a dream and you didn't mean a thing, and we were just wasting time, and I could get you off my mind. I could get you on my mind. Summer, 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 summer. I could get you on my mind.
You were just listening to Take Me Back by Paige Dean. Now here is Someone by Sammy Bauer here on Doxy's Melodies.
Please don't go and take this personal. I know that you mean well. Put your feet up, stay a while, 'cause it's the last time I can tell that you'll be around. You know one day I'ma wonder what you don't want from me. Holding your weight, but I won't fall down to your feet where I will crawl. I'm done breaking my own heart, sacrificing for your love. Tears down a bottle of rosé. You be rubbing on me the wrong way, cleansing my toxins, I can't stay. You're so awful in my brain. Yeah, I may miss you now. Yeah, I think about you now, but there's so much more around. I can't live just breaking down. Do you mind if I can love someone? To take my chances, my body be to me what you won't be. So do you mind if I can love someone? Though you hurt, play, don't appreciate me, why do I stay? So do you mind? Do you mind? Do you mind if I can love someone? So do you mind if I can love someone? What your mama say? Don't waste your patience on these basics. I know that you plan on waiting for what's yours and what's been taken. Yeah, yeah. You know one day you're gonna make me wonder if you were the one for me, or were you just saying what I wanted? You be saying that I'm not okay, telling me I'm all over the place. Only mad when it's not your way, saying you in love when I'm all upset. You know one day I'ma wonder what you don't want from me. What you don't want. So do you mind if I can love someone? To take my chances, my body be to me what you won't be. So do you mind if I can love someone? Though you hurt, play, don't appreciate me, why do I stay?
Beautiful people, you were just listening to Someone by Sammy Bauer. Now enjoy this smooth groove of Morocco by 9 Days.
me ganja, babe.
Morocco by 9 Days. Beautiful people. I'm going to keep that groove going with DHD Music with Africana while I take a quick break. But afterwards, I will be back with that interview with Tim McDonald. This is Doc Z, and you're listening to Doc Z's Melodies here on Sonic Scout Radio, unleashing the sounds of tomorrow. I'm back, beautiful people. This is Doc Z, and you're listening to Doc Z's Melodies here on Sonic Scout Radio. That was DHD Music with Africana. I'm going to switch it up a bit leading up to Tim McDonald's interview. Here is some country music with Tierra Kennedy and Somebody Like You.
Truth is, this world is gonna always break
my heart. Somehow you don't ever let it fall apart. You never leave me in the dark, out on my own, nowhere to go. I'm never too far gone. When I'm alone, looking for home, you keep your porch light on. Everybody needs somebody, somebody to lean on. Everybody needs somebody, got both their feet on the ground. Water your roots up your downs to get you through. Everybody needs somebody, somebody like you. Somebody like you. Life is sweeter long as I got you in my arms. Grass is greener on whatever side of the fence you're on. You put the blue in my sky. You make the wrong things right. Say when the going gets tough, your love is more than enough. Everybody needs somebody, somebody to lean on. Everybody needs somebody, got both their feet on the ground. Water your roots up your downs to get you through. Everybody needs somebody, somebody like you. Somebody like you. Keep your porch light. Everybody needs somebody, somebody to lean on. Everybody needs somebody, got both their feet on the ground. Water your roots up your downs to get you through. Everybody needs somebody, somebody like you. Somebody like you.
That was Tierra Kennedy with Somebody Like You. Now here is Tim McDonald spanking Bottom Red, and then we will hear from him right afterwards.
Hey, baby, you ready for the weekend? It's been a long week, hard as hell to feel free when all we do it seems is work and sleep. Now I'm gonna make some time for me and my honey, gonna spend a little bit of my hard-earned money. We'll head on down to the package store, stock up enough, no need to come back for more. It don't take much, you don't need a lot, just a little something, something make my behind spanking bottom red. They gotta have you feeling running through my head, so hammer down, pedal to the lead with some spanking bottom red. Spanking bottom red, got me dancing around like a thoroughbred. I need a little boy too proud to beg. That spanking bottom red, yeah. You're looking real good and I'm feeling fine, so grab another bottle of feel-good wine. Take a drink or two, then pass it on over. You got me feeling lucky like a four-leaf clover. Let's take this party to the master room, so loud the neighbors knocking, going boom, boom, boom. Won't come out until the sun comes up. I promise I'll be gentle, but it's gonna be rough. Enough. Spanking bottom red. They gotta have you feeling running through my head, so hammer down, pedal to the lead with some spanking bottom red. Spanking bottom red, got me dancing around like a thoroughbred. I need a little boy too proud
Hello, beautiful people. This is Doc Z, and you're listening to Doc Z's Melodies here on Sonic Scout Radio, unleashing the sounds of tomorrow. I have a very special guest here, someone dear to me, my favorite piano instructor, Mr. Tim McDonald. Tim is a former Armed Forces School of Music piano instructor and well known in the Nashville area. Hi,
Hello, Dr. Z. Dr. Z.
Tim. How are you?
That's like the omega. That's like the last letter in the alphabet. That's pretty important.
Yes, it
I'm doing well. How about yourself? How are you doing out down there in sunny, hot? Mon- you're near Birmingham, I guess, more than Montgomery.
yes,
And it's
yes,
Alabama's just hot.
yes, it is. It really is. I am doing well, trying to stay cool.
Well, you are cool, so you don't have to worry about that. But staying at
Oh.
a cooler temperature may be more difficult.
It may be.
Yes, let us clarify. But when it comes to cool, Dr. Z has got the cool factor.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that,
You got
Tim's.
it. I'm running
So,
for governor. I learned politics being in sessions. It's great. You're sitting there and you're like, man, that really sounded bad. And a guitar player comes in, oh my gosh, you're the best singer ever. And you're like, no, they're not. And I'm like, what are you running for senator or something?
oh my gosh. All
Okay.
right. So
What an
tell
introduction. What an introduction.
okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, and who are your inspirations.
Well, that could go for 3 hours, but basically, I'll try to be quick. Born from a preacher, preacher's family, and mom was a singer, still sings today. Um, in the church choir over there in Lynchburg, Virginia. That's where she's at,
Hmm.
and so still very active. She's 77, so I'll give a little shout out to my mom. Love you, mom. So anyway,
Oh.
she wanted basically mom's cheap. Okay, after I give her a shout out, I'm going to say my mom was cheap. Didn't She didn't want to pay for piano accompaniment, so she had me and my brother take lessons,
Uh-huh.
on my stepdad's dime, and then so she could sing in churches and have free piano players, right? And so that's how I was brought up. Except I didn't like being on stage. I used to sit on in the pew on how they usually have a pew on the stage where the
Uh-huh.
assistant pastor sits, maybe the choir director, maybe a couple of the head deacons or whatever, and I just sit there and
Mhm.
just just fold my arms and stick my bottom lip out, like, what am I doing on this stage? And my brother played great, and usually he was the one that backed mom up, and we had this little trio, and we played everywhere. I mean, we played in jails, and um, we played at all kinds of churches all over Virginia, basically, in that kind of region. And and so anyway, that was kind of how my musical journey started, and I never thought I was going to be a musician at all, because it was just kind of like, you take lessons, right? You learn all these
Mhm.
classical pieces, um, and you start learning the piano, but it's almost like a hobby, and it's not really a
Mhm.
hobby because you don't really have a choice when your parents kind of make you do it. So, but I never thought, okay, I'm going to go in the music business. So it just wasn't on my radar because we weren't in an area where you had a lot of music business. We had a big church. Liberty University is right in that area where my mom's still at and where I grew up. And so they had a phenomenal music program in all kinds of genres. You know what I mean? They had gospel rap bands. They had, was it Take Six?
Mm.
They had several bands, and a lot of gospel singers that came out of that school that were just phenomenal. And I remember going to the church. I wasn't a member of the church, but I would go every now and then, and they had an exceptional program with a full band. They had all the bells and
Mhm.
whistles, horns and usually a couple extra keyboard players, piano player, um, and a phenomenal choir. Probably 100 plus people in this choir. So you can just imagine how that sounded. Um, so I always was surrounded by music, but it really took going to college. I went down to a college down there in North Carolina, Black Mountain, North Carolina, and it's called Montreat. And I went there on a soccer scholarship. Basically, followed my JV coach, who wasn't my JV coach, but he was a JV coach at our school.
Mhm.
And he got a new position. He actually played soccer at Liberty University, and he said, "Hey, man, follow me down, and we'll give you a scholarship." Because I didn't have any money, and so you go down there, uh, you play a little soccer with them, you know, and then you find out, well, what are you gonna, what's your degree gonna be in? And I'm like, well, I don't know. What do you got? Like that's not even what I'm thinking about, right? I'm like,
Uh,
well, why don't I just go into business? That's kind of a broad topic, and everybody needs business in their life or this expertise in business to get through life, right?
right.
So I went down there on a business, degree well, I didn't have the degree yet, still don't, but but I was going down there on a soccer scholarship, and they had this what's called Gaither Hall. And Gaither Hall is one of the last churches, I guess you would call it. It's kind of like a church or convocation hall, maybe, that had redwood in it. Because they banned using a lot of the old trees from California to build stuff. It was protected, and so. But the sound in there was amazing. They had a pipe organ, and my buddy Heath Peak, God rest his soul, he passed away a couple years ago, but he was just an amazing pipe organ player, and I played the piano. And they had the Steinway and Sons grand piano in there, and just the sound of it, I couldn't get away with it. I mean, I couldn't get away from it, and so I just practiced all the time. I'd skip
Mhm.
class to practice. I was good at music, and I was good at soccer. I had a little band called Papa Bear and the Groove Shop. We played two gigs. We played for the staff and the kids there, the students at Montreat College, and then I had entered us in to play at a music college to do this battle of the bands, and we won it. And that was down there in Brevard
Mm.
Music College down there, and I think it's in North Carolina, but I can't remember what Murphy, North Carolina, south of Asheville. And so anyway, that I was really digging music, and I borrowed my brother's keyboards because he was playing in a pep band at Liberty, and so he went to Liberty too. And so basically, just making a long story short, just always surrounded by music, and I was influenced by a lot of different bands. At that time it was more like Harry Connick Jr.,
Mm.
and
Yes.
I really loved his music and his band. Leroy Jones, his trumpet player, who also had a phenomenal band called Funky Donkey. And this music I didn't grow up around. I was from the country right around the tobacco farms in Virginia, and so we didn't grow up, with country music because my parents were very, very, very into Christian music, and so we were very sheltered as what could come into our ears and eyes, right? So we
Right.
could watch R-rated movies. We couldn't listen to secular music. So the scope of what I listened to was basically my stepdad was 20 years. So my father passed away when I was 5. I kind of skipped that part of the story. So I had a stepdad that was, you know, very church going, and even more personified in what we were going to watch. He was 20 years senior to my mom, and so I grew up watching the old um, musicals, you know, from the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, because we couldn't watch any R-rated movie. All my friends are watching, at this time, this will date me, but they're watching Terminator and Top Gun and all these secular movies, and we're not allowed to. I'm watching like Till the Clouds Roll By with Louis Armstrong and Dean Martin. You know what I mean? Which
Mhm.
which then I'm like, man, I got to be the most uncool kid ever. But come to find out, that music is so classy. Uh, it's difficult music, because it's most of it's jazz, or Broadway classical. Basically where they took classical music and they put a kind of a pop twist on it at the time.
Mhm.
Like the movie Sound of Music, were my favorite things, which John Coltrane went on to record. A lot of the jazz musicians were taking those popular tunes and they were making these amazingly ridiculous recordings of these, jazzed up versions of these popular Broadway tunes. And I think Miles and Coltrane were probably the first two to kind of really do that. So that's what I was kind of growing up with, and just loving the music. The dance was amazing, visually. Uh, it was just these people took a lot of time. These actors and actresses and musicians took a lot of time to personify their craft. And so those were some of my early influences. I'd say probably Louis Armstrong was probably the first guy that I really, really attached to. I just
Mhm.
loved his smile, loved his trumpet playing, I loved his growly voice, but it was just something that was really cool about it,
Mhm.
and I was like, man, no matter what adversary, you would never think that he was going through anything wrong, but he never showed it on his face. And so I always try to be that way. And then when I joined the army, to become in the band, I had students at the School of Music that really opened my eyes to even more musicians that I had never heard of, that were just blowing my mind. Maceo Parker, who was James Brown band
Mhm.
leader, and he had this funk band that just blew me away. And I'm like, man, these cats are really amazing. And so I got into Bill Evans, who's a piano player, made famous by Miles Davis. And then he had an exceptional solo career.
Mhm.
And then, I really got into Oscar Peterson. He's Canadian born, but he's
Mhm.
possibly the greatest piano player of all time, um, as far as just dexterity and speed and just precision and groove. Groove's the most amazing, most important thing when it comes to music. So I was really kind of studying all these guys. I wasn't, just transcribing their solos. I was just listening to them a lot, and just saying, I want to grab some of this guy and some of this guy and some of this. I love Diana Krall too. I love, Billie Holiday, Ella
Mhm.
Fitzgerald. The vocals. One of my favorite singers of all time is Nina Simone.
Mhm.
Really love her stuff. She was also a savant piano player. Although we don't hear a whole lot of her chops, she's
Mhm.
very, very great at backing herself up with these just really thick chords and great progressions and just singing songs and that just really move you. And
Mhm.
so this is kind of when you're a musician and an artist, you want to create your own voice. I think the world we live in right now, and apologize, Dr. Z, for being so long winded, but you open a can of worms when you ask this question. But I
No
think our
problem.
society these days has gotten towards tribute acts. I think the originality has been lost in today's music, and I hope it comes back because we don't want to be anybody else in life. You don't want to, get inspired, right? Creatively and conceptually with people
Mhm.
that I would say, for lack of better terms, idolize, but you want to create your own voice. You want to have your originality. And you do that by learning everybody's music, you know, because now I'm in Nashville and I love country music too. Who also loved
Mhm.
country music was Ray Charles, who was just an exceptional
That's
piano
right.
player himself and, singer, who did a lot of stuff with Willie Nelson, and he explained basically that he loved the lyrics of the country music, and he kind of put a soulful twist on there, and he developed a whole new sound, right?
Right, right.
So that's kind of where I think it's important. So that's kind of my background was military band, and then after just basically studying privately when I was in the army out in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, I found teachers. I looked out, I searched for the best, always search for the best. So
Mhm.
I found Dan Hurley, who was one of he wrote all these books and did all the James Aebersold records. He played the piano on all those things, which is basically music minus one. It's built for saxophone players, but it also, you could use it for bass and piano. Back in those days, pan, you would pan the stereo to the left, and the bass
Mhm.
would be gone, or you pan it to the right and the piano would be gone. You could practice to these with these amazing rhythm sections. And so I found him and I studied with him almost to the day he died. He passed away last year, but um, he was playing on everybody's record, Chet Baker. I mean, all these amazing albums. And so then I found other teachers, Frank Mantooth, who've started helping me write big band. So everybody would think I'm this big jazz head, which I really am a big jazz head. But it's funny in Nashville, people they kind of put you in a category, which is
Mhm.
sad because so a lot of the stuff I play on, I mean, is all over the map. but
Mhm.
because I'm a session guy now, I used to tour with everybody. Um, and we can get into that later, but um, most of the influences is just from the greatest of the great. You know what I mean? And just
Mhm.
expanding the horizons of music on different levels and textures, and kind of drawing all those in, taking a little bit here and there, whether transcribing something or just listening and saying, man, I want to play like, Ahmad Jamal, or somebody that may play a little bit different, Horace
Mhm.
Silver, or maybe I want to play like Floyd Kramer, who was an amazing, kind of a country piano player. But when you put all those textures together, you kind of form your own sound, and that's really what it's all about. So that's where I think that I'll bookend that question with that, just saying, a lot of influences over diverse cultures and sounds of music. And don't forget the Afro-Cuban aspect of it, which I really got
Mhm.
into at the school, because the school at the military, as you know, because you were a great student there and you went
Oh,
on to do
thank
great
you.
things. One of my favorite students, one that keeps in
Oh.
contact, you know. I have one other student, Justin Cody, who went on, and he was in the Navy. He was in the president's band there for the Navy. He just
Mhm.
retired earlier this year, and so we kept in touch with him. He was just nuttier than a fruitcake, but he was good. I hope he hears me. But I'm giving a shout out, man, because he was a great musician.
Uh-huh.
Still is, right?
Mhm.
But a lot of my colleagues too, like yourself, and Michael Sorg, who went on to Europe,
Yes. Mhm.
and Bart Keebler, who's doing his thing in New York City.
Mhm.
There's a lot of military musicians that, especially in my world, that are really doing great things. And if you
Mhm.
go back, John Coltrane was in the Navy band.
Mhm.
Cannonball Adderley was in charge of the Fort Knox band. He played with Miles, and then you had all these, Curtis Fuller, who played trombone. He was in Fort Knox too. He went on to record with John Coltrane. You had Doc Severinsen, who was in the Army. He went on to play with the Tonight Show band. You had all of these great musicians that went through the military system that went on to bigger and
Mhm.
better things, because at some point, whether you do 4 years or 20 plus, you're going to get out and you have to have your second life, right?
Mhm.
And so I think the vision is always upward and onward, as I say. You always want to go and be above and beyond where you're at every day,
Mhm.
to improve yourself, not just in life in general, but in your craft. Because
That's right.
if you love what you do, first of all, they say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, right? But also, if
Mhm.
you really love what you do, and music is proven. They've done a lot of studies on it. The suicide rate is lower for people that play music, right? It's
Mhm.
also great for your health, because anytime you want to escape, you can just sit down at your instrument, or stand up, I guess, if you play a guitar or whatever, and you can just play music, and you're like, whoa, you don't even think about anything. Your mind is completely off, maybe a health problem or maybe a financial problem or whatever.
Mhm.
Uh, so there you go. Dr. Z. Dr. Z in the house.
So, what are you doing in Nashville? I know you toured a lot, so tell the radio audience what are you doing in
Yeah,
Nashville?
so okay, so I got out in 2004, right? Almost 10 years. I just rounded up to 10 years. This is about 9.5 years in the military. I'd met some awesome folks in Oklahoma. Byron Berline, who was, he discovered Vince Gill, and it was in the bluegrass world. And to me, bluegrass was kind of like white jazz, right? And
Okay.
what I mean by white jazz is like, it's like, they don't use all the contemporary scales. It's more the simple, like, not well, there's some chromaticism in there, but most of your
Mhm.
diatonic scales, right? But
Mhm.
I mean, they're jamming at speeds that are just way beyond. And so on the piano, very difficult. It's really not a bluegrass instrument. But I started playing, records with him, and when I was in the Army out there. And so when I wanted to move to Nashville, because I called Byron, he was always a mentor. And I said, hey, man, where should I move? Is LA, New York, or Nashville were like the three meccas of music, right?
Mhm.
If you want to be in the center of everything. And so we had a discussion, and coming out, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and so I was just kind of a blue collar musician, coming out of the military. And so I was like, well, Nashville's the most feasible, right? Because
Mhm.
the housing at that time. Now it's more expensive than New York, but at that time it was very inexpensive to live, and that was a very important part because you're not going to just walk into the music business and hello, I'm here, and they're like, oh yeah, we got you.
Mhm.
It ain't like that. You could be the best because I was, you come to a town, you want to be prepared. I mean, not to sound so pompous or anything, but I was very over prepared when I came to Nashville.
Mhm.
And so for about 4 months, I'm sitting with bands, just watching everything, just watching all my money drop. And so I started, I started playing on the strip, and then I got into these really cool bands that were playing. There was the thing called the Nashville Star, which the Nashville Star was kind of like the original American Idol. It started in Nashville,
Mhm.
and they had these. Brett Michaels was one of the judges, who everybody knows him from the band Poison. You had Phil Vassar, who's a piano player guy here, and also a big songwriter, and he's had a lot of hits here in Nashville. He was one of the judges. Gretchen Wilson. So I fell in a band that started doing the after parties. Okay,
Mm.
and
Okay.
so they were doing that at BB King's. So right after the airing, they would all come over there. All the judges would come over there. They would jump on stage. I played with Brett Michaels. Every rose has its thorn. Right. That was his big
Mhm.
song. But they would bring all their musicians too, and they were asking me to sit in. And so now they automatically thought I'd been there for years because you know how Nashville is just like any other touring town,
Mhm.
right? Where you move here, but you're gone a lot. So
Mhm.
no one knows who's like actually from Nashville because most people aren't. And so I call it ghosts, because ghosts are the
Mhm.
ones that come here and just leave and they're on tour. So anyway, I basically to start out the tour after 4 months, I finally landed my first major tour, which was Mark Chestnut. He had I think 17 number one hits. Don't quote me on that, but it was something like that. And so I started touring with him, and it was kind of my introduction to uh, professional touring, which was a
Mhm.
whole different level, than the military because you're playing stuff just like the record. And this was kind of like a honky tonk piano tour, and
Mhm.
on the side I had this band, this great jazz band, and we opened up for like Stanley Jordan, the great guitar player, and doing all this stuff playing for Watkins College, which is a creative arts college here in Nashville. So that was on the side. But I started, with Chestnut, and then about 2 years after Chestnut, we toured the world. He got the French CMA award for album of the year. We went over to toured Europe, and then I came
Mm.
back, and Blake Shelton called, and Blake Shelton was like,
Wow.
"Hey man, we need a piano player. Are you interested?" I said, "Yeah, sure, man." But I gave Chestnut an opportunity. You know what I mean, to not leave because the money was about the same at that time. Blake had
Mhm.
a couple hits, but he really hadn't exploded yet. And so Chestnuts, said, "Well, we can't afford to give you any more." And I'm like, "You're already paying me peanuts." You know what I mean? So the per diem
Mhm.
was better with Blake. Just basically travel pay was better. The gigs paid the same. And he was a younger artist. No offense to Chestnut at all, because we're still best friends. But Blake was coming up, and he was under Reba McEntire, who was kind of the queen of Nashville, and her husband Narvel. And so I went on with them,
Mhm.
and then it really wasn't. It just wasn't my gig, and so we just parted ways, and so then I started playing on the strip a lot, and just really wanted to be a Nashville session guy the entire time. I mean, I was recording albums, at the time. There's a lot of stuff that going on behind the works,
Mhm.
but in between, just dabbling in sessions and this and that, I went, got to tour with Hank Jr. and did 3 world tours with Olivia Newton-John from Greece. For our younger audience that may not know who she is, and went out with Rick Derringer, who just passed away. He was a rock and roll star,
Mhm.
and so basically that's who all I toured with. And so now touring is a young person's sport, I say, because
Mhm.
you're living on a tour bus and you're always out. Um, Even with the secondary artists or the ones that had hits, 10 years ago, they're still doing, 80 dates, which is a lot in a year,
Mhm.
because you have to bus and travel a lot. Some of them do, a ridiculous amount, 150, 200 plus dates a year. And so you really have to, you have to have a lot of energy beyond the musical scope. And so I've always been a creator of music. I just got tired of copying people, and I never wanted to copy. Playing somebody else's stuff. I wanted to be the guy that people copied, if that makes sense. So,
Mhm.
so what I do to answer the second part of your question, basically, I'm a session musician here in Nashville.
Mhm.
Been endorsed by Yamaha to give them a shout out for 18 years now, going on 19.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've got a nice. You've been here at the studio. You've done some awesome
Right.
work for me. You and Kai have come out here and done some really great,
Thank
vocal
you.
work and done your own stuff. But
Mhm.
you see my Yamaha C7 piano,
Mhm.
and I've got an old Hammond B3,
Mhm.
Leslie 755 Leslie, and so I just do session work all day, and just to expand on that just for a second, um, like yesterday, for instance, yesterday morning I woke up early because I had a session in a place called Buck's Place. We're doing these old country hits. And so I was working on some emails from actually some corrections. Sometimes when you do stuff on email, I work for five different email companies, or basically not email companies, but companies by email, if that makes sense. So one of them
Mhm.
is Supreme Tracks, which is over in Serbia. My good friend Joven, I'll give him a shout out. So he's been throwing me a bunch of work, and two of the songs were kind of like Korean pop, right? They were
Mm.
Korean pop, so it's like Korean classical pop. And so I don't understand a word that they're saying, but the music, the singers are beautiful. It's two
Uh-huh.
girls, in this particular thing. And so, I sent the piano. It's just piano vocals, and so I sent the piano stuff out a couple days, well, about a week ago. They took a long time to get back and say, hey, at this section we would like it a little softer, a little more intricate. And I'm like, no problem. So I just kind of, have to relearn it if it's a week. But so I was working on that, and then I did country yesterday, and then I had this Hammond project coming from this old rock and roller, and so basically just do music all over the map, working out of my home studio. And yesterday when I got done, and it got approved, by the way, yay! So when it gets approved, I get paid, right?
Right.
That's the best part.
Right.
Is making a little bread. And so then I go over to Buck's Place. We did three songs for a guy named Rich Parr, who's he's from North Carolina, and we were doing some country tunes with some amazing musicians, and so that's all I do is just sessions. I don't tour a whole lot. We started the segment out. I'm going down to
Mhm.
McClellan. I just got back from Ohio. Actually, I did a gig out there, so I'm still play live, but my bread and butter is session. So I'm a session guy here in Nashville.
Oh, wonderful. Now, I
You
have
haven't
been
fallen asleep yet, have you, Doctor Z?
No.
I'm not. I
No.
know I'm not as
You
interesting
keep
as
it
Netflix.
interesting. You keep it interesting, trust me. No, I am not asleep
I
at
keep you on your
all.
toes, right? Keep you on
Yes, you
your toes.
do. Yes, you do. Now, I have been spinning Spanking Bottom Red, and I promised my
Oh,
listeners that I would get the backstory on that single because it is suggestive. But I want you to tell us how that title and how the lyrics came about.
I would love to tell you this story. It's a great story. It's funny because you're right. When I wrote it, I was like, man, it was a jingle. It was a jingle.
Wow.
So there is a wine company, although they have everything but folded,
Mm.
called Spankin' Bottom Red Wine,
Oh, okay.
and you can look it up. It's out there. A friend of mine, Eileen Stewart, she calls me one day. She's done a lot of my artwork. She's from Boston. Boston. She talks like this, and it's just like, "Hey, what's up, girl? Hey, you want to do something in music?" And so she calls me. She says, "Tim, you're the perfect person because the two guys are their attorneys, and they started this spanking bottom red wine. They went out to uh, Argentina or something to find this wine, and they just wanted to call it spanking bottom red." So if anybody's a freak in this world, those two guys are. It's not me. So she calls me on the phone. I'm on my way to a gig in Kentucky, right? I'm like
Uh-huh.
somewhere between Nashville. I'm like near Bowling Green. which is about an hour north on 65. I'm heading to Georgetown, which is right north of Lexington, Kentucky. And Eileen Stewart calls me and she says, Tim, you're the perfect person to do this. There's this wine company called Spankin' Bottom Red. They want kind of like this new kind of a country rock thing, but we I thought of you. And right when she said that Spankin' Bottom Red, that whole song came to me. And I said, I got to get off the phone, Eileen. I don't want to be rude. She says, okay, so I'll call you right back. I was driving, so I couldn't just pull over, right? Because the song was in my head. So I called a friend. I said, hey, I am going to call your phone. Do not answer because I need to leave you a voicemail with a song on it, right? They're like, okay. I call them back. They answer the phone. I'm like, no, I asked you, please don't answer the phone because I don't know how I'm going to record this, right? And so I called the phone. I called their phone back. That's a true story. They answered the phone after they said, okay. So, and they'll probably hear this. So they'll probably get a good chuckle out of this. But so anyway, I called their phone when it went to voicemail and sang, Spanking Bottom Red, pretty much everything, right? That was in the song. And so they had the recorded version of it. They sent it, and I transcribed that message and wrote the song. And I came to my studio. I put a simple, drum loop behind it, and with the vocal, right? Sounded really rough, raw. It's what we call a work tape. And I sent it to Eileen. She gave it to the two attorneys that own this wine company, and they says, "Man, we absolutely love this song. We're gonna come to Nashville. We're gonna do some video. We're gonna, and I had everything set up with wine companies here, like Soulshine Pizza, that was going to make them their house wine.
Mhm.
We had meetings with iHeartRadio because they came to Nashville. They took care of me. I hired the best musicians in Nashville, and we went
Mhm.
over to County Q studio and we recorded that song. And it was amazing. And so when I had the final product, that's when we went to iHeartRadio because they absolutely loved. I mean, they were like, "This song is insane,"
It
and
is.
yeah, I was like, it's not a single, or it's not a jingle, it's a single. Because once we recorded it, I'm like, this song could be out there, and no one's going to really know what it means except you now, your audience,
Right.
me and two attorneys and my art lady, right? So we were
Right.
the only ones that really knew what this song was about. It was just basically an advertisement. So that's where
Wow.
I kept the words clean enough where it could be played on the radio, but it's risque enough where you can use your imagination, right?
Right.
So it's kind of those things. We don't get a lot of artistic license, especially in Nashville. If you have too risque, it's always borderline, you know. But you
Uh-huh.
have to be really careful with your lyrics because if radio says, "Nah, we can't play that," we got kids listening, and you're like, "Well, you play this song," you know what I mean?
Yes.
But you can't play this. So I'm like, yes. Once you hear Spanking Bottom Red, then you're like, okay, well, you're gonna have to play this for me so I can listen to it, and make sure that it's cool because when I see the title of it, there's already a red flag, right?
Yes.
I mean, let's just be honest. But I'm glad you asked that question because I love that song and wrote it myself. Didn't have any help on it, and I had everything written: guitar parts, everything, and I just hired cats that could kind of reproduce. Michael Jackson. I'm not going to compare myself to Michael Jackson at all, but Michael Jackson was kind of gifted. I won't say kind of gifted, but I was going to say kind of gifted in that way, where not only did he hear, the chords and the melody, but he also heard parts.
Mhm.
So he heard guitar parts and drum parts and stuff, and they say when he was in the studio, he would just sing all the parts, and I really think that's an extra gift,
It
when you
is.
can hear that stuff because that's a whole new level of cool. Because a lot of people in the studio are guessing, man, what should I play? You know,
Right.
and you're like, hey, I've got this idea. Oh man, that's killer. All these stuff that MJ was coming up with, and we call those musical hooks.
Mhm.
Just to explain to your listener what a hook is, because everybody in the music business knows what it is, but a lot of listeners are like, "What's the hook?" Well, the hook is the title of the song, which is the very most important part of the song. Is the hook, right? That's what
Mhm.
hooks you. That's what people sing over and over and over and over again. You know, and so that's when you have a musical hook. It's a part of a song that musically it just gets in your head. You know, it's usually a recurring thing, happens in the chorus,
Mhm.
maybe the intro or something, Um, like one of MJ's is do 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 bo bo do bo 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 do bo bo bo, right?
Mhm.
There's all kinds of little musical hooks on there, and so Spanking Bottom Red is that ba it starts out with that guitar thing, you know. That's kind of the
Mhm.
musical hook. So there you go.
Well, thank you for explaining that because, like you
Spanking Bottom
said,
Red.
it is risque. It is, I laugh every time I play it because, yes, you can get in your head and imagine a lot of things.
Well,
So,
hey, you
thank
know
you.
what I love about the word risque?
What do you love?
It's close to another word, risky. So you have to be risky when you're being risque,
So you
right?
can you can do this all day, huh?
I can do this all day,
Well, okay.
all
Well,
day. Now, this is what I do all day. I mean, I'm not risque all day,
okay.
but sometimes I'm risky, and that leads to risque songwriting. See, that was just risque, right?
You got to come up with a song, aren't you?
Ah,
You're gonna come up with something, aren't you?
well, you never know. You never know.
Well, let me ask you this.
Sure.
In your opinion, as a past and current instructor, because you're still my instructor, what do you believe can make a musician successful and what can make an independent artist successful?
Well, man, that's kind of two roads that kind of intersect and go away from each other at the same time, right? So when you're to be a successful, let's say a musician, obviously you have to work on your craft, um, and you have to think very competitively. People that say that music's not a competition, I highly disagree with them because it should be. That's what makes you better. You just like when you are playing soccer or basketball or football, right? You have a person in
Mhm.
mind, you whether it's Emmett Smith or Michael Jordan, right? Probably
Mhm.
two of the greats ever played the game. Uh,
Not LeBron, I'm just playing.
no, that's a whole new thing. See, most of the GOAT LeBron folks never saw Michael Jordan, uh,
Uh-huh.
play. And that was
Uh-huh.
just that was a whole different thing. We could have a whole podcast on the GOATs, which would be
Mhm.
cool because I would love to argue that point, right? I mean,
Yes.
5 rings versus 2 or 3. Let's just put it right there. It's about winning. I don't care how good you are. If you can't win the final game, that to me, it's like, oh, okay, you're a great piano player, but you've never played in a stadium before, right?
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense.
you know what I'm saying? So it's about the end game, which is winning. Um, now, not LeBron. Well, of course, he's played longer than any basketball player ever. I think Kareem's probably the only guy, and he just passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's scoring record. So he's the highest scorer. So there's props there, right? Let's not
Mhm.
question his ability, right? Because he'll go down as one of the greatest. But you're talking about the GOAT, right? The greatest of all time. And it should say the greatest of all the times because that puts a exclamation point at the end of it. So the way
Let's not start any enemies. Let's go back to the question.
Oh, there will be no enemies. We are frenemies. Frenemies are those that can debate and hug at the end, right?
I'm talking about my radio listeners.
Oh yeah, I love all of them, man. If I could hug each one personally, I would. That might take a long time. But anyway, yeah, to be, obviously work on your craft, learn and be inspired by the best, right? Try to be better than everybody else. There will always be somebody better than you, but
That's right.
as long as you try to be better than them, you'll be in the right direction, right? I had
Mhm.
my buddy in the army band over in Germany, always like, man, aim for the stars because at least if you don't reach them, you'll hit the moon. And I'm like, that's pretty cool, right? So always learn from the best. Always seek mentors and teachers that are just blowing your mind. That expect a lot of you. Don't go with someone that you think is easy or they really don't care. It's kind of like a relationship, when you're someone that's kind of a pain in your butt, it's always like pushing you to do better things. They're usually the right one to be with. It's not always fun, but
Mm.
they're the ones that always want to make you a better person. That's how a relationship should be, whether it's teaching, instructing, or your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Right? Should be somebody that not only cares about you personally, but also cares about you being the best at what you can be, what you're doing, because they benefit from that as well, right? Uh,
Right.
so once you get to a level where you can be competitive, because there's a lot of people that are less talented that are going to have positions that you don't. There's a whole nother avenue of where I always say, use the Miles Davis technique, because he was from East St. Louis and he went to Juilliard. He only went to Juilliard for about a year. He quit Juilliard, but he met you know the best musicians on the planet and started playing with them. You know,
Mhm.
I don't think Miles was wasting his time with let's just call them newbies. You know, and I'm not
Mhm.
saying don't give new people a chance. I'm not saying that, but the fastest way to get from point A B is just to go to point B, right? Get in with the best cats that are doing stuff, the best musicians out there. And they don't have to play your instrument. I got in with the best bass player here in town, the best guitar players, best drummers, best songwriters, everything, because then they'll know who you are. You're on their radar, right? If
Mhm.
you start now with folks just coming in like yourself, then they may never you may never become anything, they may never become anything, right? And
Right.
time is crucial, because you have that age clock ticking too in the music business. Is a young person's sport, but all your session musicians are old crusty cats, right? And that's the truth, because they got the soul, they got all this stuff, they got the knowledge, they got the wisdom, they know what not to play. Most new musicians, young musicians, are just trying to show you, hey, look how bad I am, look how great I am, look how amazing I play. It's like, well, that may be all well and good, but it's not the best for the song, right?
Right.
So there's that. So I always say meet the best in the business, right? In every
Mhm.
field, whether it's publishing, label, uh musicians, find your best musicians and start hanging with them. Find a good mentor, and then that'll help you get to point B faster, because then when it comes to taking, of course you have to validate yourself musically, right? You have to back it up, right?
Right.
But if you're in these circles, then when they have an opportunity come along, then you're going to be on the radar, and they may say, hey, which happened to me, especially with Blake Show. I mean, all these I'd say the only musician that I didn't that wasn't word of mouth was probably my first gig, which was Mark Chestnut. And
Okay.
basically I was playing downtown, and a cat that played for Mark Chestnut came in and heard me playing. And he said, hey, then the band leader calls me and says, hey, what, it was Slimmy Hamaguchi. I'll never forget. He's from Japan, one of the most meticulous band leaders I've ever met, which was great because he knew all the music in and out. And he says, what do you require? And I was like, whoa, that's a pretty heavy question, right? Well, I need some crepes, and I need some chocolate strawberries. Not in there. I'm just like, I need some this. What do y'all pay, right? And so that's the most important thing. As an independent artist, it's a whole different thing, right? Because first of
Mhm.
all, you have to have competitive quality music. And competitive quality music is, I mean, either you're the songwriter or you pick songs from another songwriter, right? There's a million great songwriters out there that have a million songs. Not everybody's a songwriter. Not everybody's an artist, right? Some people are
Mhm.
songwriters, blah blah, blah blah blah. But excuse me, this is a little. Need to get some water. But basically, you got to be competitive with what's on the radio, right? And
Mhm.
that's the song quality, recording quality, time links of the song. You can't be recording 7 minute songs. It's not going to go on the radio. You have to be commercial, right? You may have to go a little bit against your artistic license to do that, which is, well, I want to be my own creator, this and that. Well, then you're probably not going to be on mainstream radio. You have to play the game. Miles played the game. If he'd have started all of his later recordings first, he would have never been Miles Davis, right? But the first
Mhm.
recordings that he played, the Kind of Blue record, is very commercial, even though they're playing some amazing stuff. So I always revert back to him because I've studied his life a lot, and even though he was in the jazz circuit, it's a lesson that can be learned in any style, especially depending on what style you want to go into, because there's so many people that are trying to do it, and with you have all the technology, it evens the playing field, right? Back in the day, you had to play.
Mhm.
Now you can get it on the radio, or you can get it on your computer. Is what I mean. Sorry. Um, so, and you have to have a lot of financial backing, like you said at the very beginning of this thing. I think even before we pushed red, is that it's hard to get on the radio. Radio's not cheap. Radio's expensive. You have to pay for radio teams. You have to go out and do radio touring, right? You have to do all of this stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but it all begins with your idea and your goal of what you want to do. How hard you're willing to work, because there's people out there that are going to be less talented than you that have a harder work ethic, which means they're just going at it all the time. And sometimes by attrition they make it. That's why you hear on the radio, I can sing better than that person. Which is probably the
Mhm.
case. You know, but they did it right.
Mhm.
So you literally have to go out and knock down doors. You have to, you know, crawl through cracks and, just like the little spiders do when they come in your house when it's hot,
Mhm.
or the little ants, and then you have to be like that. You have to just be persistent. But you have to be ready too. So it is it's a money game. That's a whole different topic for another day, but it's not cheap. But those are the two ways that I would say to get, um, today the way of doing things, as you said, independence is social medias, TikToks and YouTubes and stuff like that. Getting real listeners, don't just buy your listeners, because people know real quick, right? They know real quick.
Mhm.
I know people that pay thousands and thousands of dollars to get stuff, but real quick if these are real fans and not, right?
Mhm.
Because if I have 15 people lined up that come to me, if I had 15 different people come through my studio and say, listen, I've got 1 million followers, let's say 15, and there's probably more people out there that have that than 15. And I look at all of their pages independently, I can see which one has a legitimate following just by the the character of the communication that's going on there, right? Whether it's comments
Mhm.
or this and that, people following. It's not just numbers, and the reason why independence is just like trying to get a loan out there, right? Today, in today's world, nobody wants to take chances like they did 20,
Mhm.
30 years ago, right? So
Right.
the mortgage companies want to make sure that you have a way of paying them back. Back in the day, they
Right.
took a chance, right? And so they would
Right.
have to foreclose on. But now it's like you can't even get a loan. The same thing in the music business. These labels are going to wait until you have all of the views and this and that, and then they're going to jump on your wagon. You know why they
That's
can do that?
right.
Because they have thousands other people that are doing it. So why
That's
would I
right.
waste? If you have to think like an exec, right? I'm getting deep on you now, but you have to think like an executive to be in the market, because if you if I have, let's say I have two people coming to my office, right? Let's make it easier so it doesn't blow people's minds. Let's say I have two people come to my office, right? I have a amazing singer coming in here. I'm the best I've ever heard, right? And I'm like, well, hey, show me your following and stuff. Well, I don't have anything. and then I have this person that's good. Let's just say they're good, right?
Mhm.
But they come in and they have 10 million real followers. They're showing me their sales, right? They're showing me their tour schedule. They're playing all these places. Which one do you think I'm going to pick to sign to my label?
Mm. The one that has everything going for them.
Exactly. Now, what I would hope to do, and you may say, Tim, that's just so wrong. It's business. It is business. You have to think about it like a business. Now, with my heart being as red as it is and loving everybody, wanted to hug every one of my LeBron fans out there, right? I hope that I make enough money off of that artist that you just said we're going with to sign this amazing singer because I think the world needs to hear her, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to use her and her or him, and I'm going to try to help them with my avenues, right? Whether it's artist development, right? Maybe they look
Uh-huh.
awkward on stage, or maybe they don't have any experience with the band. That's artist
Uh-huh.
development. How to hold a microphone. It's simple stuff, right? They get people like yourself oh, there you are. Nice little hair bun you got on there. To turn on, to turn them on how to do live stuff, and then meanwhile we're working on their views because that's the first thing that the music row will ask you, right? Because back in the day they used to go to what we referred to as showcases. Showcases is
Right.
where you used to go down and these bands would poster make a little poster saying at Third and Lindsley, on Thursday at 4 o'clock. I'm going to go in,
Right.
and they would bring all these publishers and record execs out, and they would watch their show. And they would pamper them with free alcohol and whatever else, hopefully
Mhm.
getting a meeting, right? Now you don't see any posters used to be on every telephone pole down on the Music Row. You hardly ever see that anymore. Why?
Mhm.
Because I've heard this directly from the execs on the road because I used to have meetings all the time. And they says, listen, after a hard day's work, I've worked all day. Last thing I want to do is go home, change my clothes, and come back downtown to listen to a band, right?
Right.
When I can click on YouTube, I can see how they perform on a video screen. I can see how many followers they have, right? It's
Right.
a no-brainer. So that's what you're competing as. Just throw the art into a different thing. Art is something that we all have in us that are artists, right? We're all artistic in some way. We do things that most non-artistic people don't do, you know. And so the art is something that you need to have if you want to be an independent artist. You're going to have to start thinking like a business person, right?
Right.
And you're going to have to say, listen, I've got two shops. I've got Kroger and I've got Whole Foods. Whole Foods is more expensive, but I know the vegetables are going to be fresh. But
Mhm.
Kroger is cheaper, and their potatoes are in better shape, or I really love their deli, or I really love the two guys behind the meat counter,
Mhm.
right? And I love how you can check out faster. They have a lot more checkout things. So I'm probably going to go to Kroger over Whole Foods, right? So they're going to get my business because they have more going on artistically. And so you have to think if that makes sense, right?
Yes.
You have to think of it in a business mind. And I'll stop.
Wonderful.
There's
So
a
you
lot of info there.
It is, it is. Now tell us, do you have any performance dates coming up and how can your fans reach you?
Well, my fans can always go to, I have several websites, but they all lead to one, which is basically ivorytickler.com or timmcdonaldband.com, you know. And then my email is tim@timmcdonaldband.com. And as far as performance dates, the only thing I really have is a couple private performances coming up. You know, I'm not really playing out much like I was very active here in Nashville with my band pretty much until 2020 when the music business got shut down, right? As long as the rest of the world pretty much. But that's when I started saying, hey, I mean, I could work twice as, you know, I could work half the time and make more money uh, doing sessions than I can, hustling to get in low paying gigs here, in an oversaturated music city, right?
Right.
So I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm just saying if you want to see me live, then you're going to have to call me and book me, and I'll come play with
Mhm.
my keyboard and come to your home, for
Mhm.
a couple hours. But uh, so that answers that question really quick.
So you're just basically doing session work now.
Yeah.
You've kind of retired from the performance type
Well,
of
I'm not
thing.
going to say retired, but kind of retired from the public performance right now.
Mhm.
I do private parties when they come in from out of state, most of them, because that's the most that pay. A handful of stuff here, but as far as playing in the local clubs and stuff like that, I really don't have anything booked right now. I think I'm doing a
Mhm.
bluegrass festival in Kentucky in like August. I would just say watch my website because stuff pops up, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But you can, if you want to listen to my music, I have a ton of music. I have 13 records. I think it's 15 now. I have to count them again, but
Mhm.
just all diverse. Whatever I love musically. I've got 3 jazz records. Tim McDonald 2. I have Ivory Christmas because that's coming up right around the corner. Believe it or
Mhm.
not, they're going to start putting Christmas stuff out pretty soon. And it's
Mhm.
funny on that topic. Most Christmas albums are recorded in March and April, so they can prepare the
Mhm.
songs for December, right? It's funny how
Right.
many artists I get in November, like, I got to record Christmas tunes. I'm like, man, you missed the boat on that, right? Because by the time you get it back, it's January. You have to
Right.
take a couple months to promote.
Right.
And I'll let me do this topic too. So go to timmcdonaldband.com. You can see my schedule. Go on go on Spotify and YouTube and iTunes. Download some songs. Right now, I have a song that is a country remake of "Don't Worry, Be Happy." Right, Bobby
Mhm.
McFerrin's big hit. Who's an exceptional artist, as you know, singer, amazing.
Mhm.
And that was probably the funniest song that came out because he's way deeper than that. But
Mhm.
that song that's gone viral on the Facebook streams,
Okay.
or sorry, reels, right? The little
Mhm.
Facebook reels. It's kind of like TikTok for Facebook.
Mhm.
And so in the last 2 months, I've had probably about 3 or 4 million that I quit counting.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, 3 or 4 million streams monetarily. That's about $40. Bobby gets paid, right? Because I license the music, so he's probably thanking a guy he's never met before, saying, "Hey, I really appreciate you getting this money coming in, right? Because the money is really in the publishing and the person that
Uh-huh.
wrote the song, right?"
Right.
So if you can go hear that version, it's really cool. I got steel guitars and stuff on it. So I've got jazz records, I've got bluegrass records, my white jazz. I got my jazz, my white jazz, right? The bluegrass. Uh, I've got my country records, and I've recorded, a little bit of rock and roll here and there. We just went to Fame Studio and to Sun Records in Memphis and recorded 6 of Tim McDonald's new songs. So I'm still
Mhm.
putting out a lot of music. I never want to use the retired word, but I have, kind of semi-actively retired until the next episode comes up, right? Because as soon as we end this conversation, somebody will call up and say, "Hey, man, what are you doing in 2 weeks? Come play this show." And I'll be, "Oh, okay. Well," so I've never closed the door to opportunity. I think I've just faced, I'm just directed more towards doing studio work for people
Mhm.
because it makes me happy and I get to create. And monetarily, it's good until AI takes over, and we'll see what happens there. My
Mhm.
buddy Nikki V gives it 3 years, but I'm not so sure. Because we're already
Mhm.
starting to replace a lot of AI instruments, right? And I
Mhm.
would encourage anybody listening as a new artist to steer away from using AI, right?
Right.
Because a lot of your executive producers and publishers won't even listen to it. In fact, if you go on there saying, "Hey, I have this AI tune," you're done. And you only get one opportunity sometimes to meet with these people because they have so many people they got to meet, right? It's not because
Right.
they're above and beyond. They just have thousands of people every day contacting them and wanting
Right.
their time, and so there's that. So I would say, just be influenced by what you hear. If you hear a song that you love and you want to be inspired by it, by all means listen to that song. Don't copy the song, but take some elements from it as inspiration and say, kind of write something in this vein, come up with a good hook, and start recording stuff and start using the best, you get
Mhm.
what you pay for, as we know. But
Mhm.
it really pays off, but the most important part of the whole thing is goes past your recordings. Once your recordings, your job is really just started to begin, right? And that's where a lot of musicians miss the boat because they don't put the time to promote their music or its particular recording, right?
Mhm.
They think once they're done, they can just slap it up on iTunes and it's done. And they're wondering, like, well, man, this is a great song. Everybody tells me it's a great song, but it's not doing anything. Well, what have you really done to promote it? That's where the money comes in,
Right.
and you have to, like I said, I've been there, man. It's not like I'm just saying, shooting from the hip. I did radio tour. I did 3 major radio tours. I had a song in the top 50 in Music Row. If you look up Music Row charts, that's the one you get before you go on the big one. I had a top
Mhm.
50 song with a song I wrote called Dad. I was paying
Mhm.
after I paid about, I don't know, probably about 15 grand to do this record. I'm talking about 12 songs with the A session guys. Those are the cats in Nashville that play on all of your major, uh, major records and not just country records. I'm talking about everything. Great session players can play any style and very well, and they play on everyone's records from Motown, R&B to country to whatever, rock, blues.
Mhm.
Um, and so then after it was done, I dropped another 10 grand, right? And hired a radio team. I used uh, grassroots radio. I can't remember there's grassroots is what they're called, but they're a radio promotion team. And they sent the single out, they prepared it, they put it on a compilation that goes to all the radio stations. And then they set me up 3 tours, We had a little app map that kind of showed where the song was being played, and how it was doing. Toured all over from New York to Wisconsin, Midwest. And there are more, the country music, because this is what this song was, a country song. That was more of the regions, right? But New York also has a big country following, and so I went up there, and we had it right in the top 50, before it tailed off, you know. And so I've been down that road, and it's tough. It takes a lot of hours, a lot of energy, a lot of driving. But
Mhm.
once your music's recorded, you first of all you have to pick the best tune that's going to be that have the most, most legs, as we call it, to become a success. Then you have to have, you have to put all the stuff behind it. You can't just slap it up and hope. It's like throwing noodles at the wall and seeing which one sticks, right?
Mhm.
You have to go through the work, and it could be very discouraging. But the ones that survive and just keep working, right, keeping their head up, because there's a lot of great semi-pro players that never make professional. It's the ones that don't give up that succeed. Of course, there's politics and everything. You can't avoid that. So I tell my mom, I said, the only thing you can do is pray and vote. And that's the truth. There's powers beyond you that are working. But as long as you are persistent and you don't give up in anything, um, and honing in your craft, making it better than everybody else, working
Mhm.
harder than everybody else, not giving up, because that's another thing that the record execs and music row especially, they want people that are going to be in this business for the long haul, right? Because they don't want to sink thousands and thousands of dollars into an artist that when the first hardship comes along, they quit, right? Because they've
Right.
lost all this money on this investment, and so you have to think like that. So you have to really, music business is what every musician should get into. So first of all, they're not getting robbed blind, right? And
Right.
second of all, so they kind of know. what goes on behind the scenes of making a song a hit, how
Right.
much money sometimes it takes, right?
Right.
And a lot of the money comes from investors, you know. Investors are just loans basically from people that are looking to sign new artists, you know,
Right.
or looking for different avenues to invest money into, you know. And so that's that's way more information than you asked for, but we went down that road.
But it's good information, and I really appreciate you because this is food for the soul for independent artists. Because me having degrees in music business and law, I run into that a lot because these young independent artists are not knowledgeable about how, well, what we will say, how the game works. And so they have this misconception of, hey, I'm going to throw my music up on DistroKid and boom. I'm like, no, that's not how it's going to work. You can have it on DistroKid for your 10 family members. You have to promote and market because, what I was taught, and shout out to the University of Miami, um, I was taught, that's 90%. Marketing is 95% of what needs to be done into getting your music out. That's why people rush to a label because, labels have the big funds. And so I'm so glad that you did touch on that. So that my listeners and independent artists that are listening can actually realize, hey, I need to rethink this thing and get it together. I see I have to be more of a business person, an entrepreneur, plus an artist, plus a musician. So it's just a lot of intricate parts in it, and you have to have everything organized in such a way that you can be successful. So
Right.
thank you for touching on that, and my time is up, but thank you so much for being on my show,
You're very
Tim.
welcome. Thanks for having me. I had a great time.
I did too, and I'm pretty sure my radio listeners enjoyed us being silly on here. So
Well, I hope so. I mean, if they didn't learn anything, then then you know, get on it. But hey, let me say one thing real quick, just to expound
okay,
on that before you go.
okay,
Basically, if everybody loves Bob Marley, right?
right,
So Bob and Rita, his wife, they were not only great, musicians, but they also in their house and behind their house they had a record printing company. They printed their own vinyl, right? And then
wow, okay,
inside their house they had a store. They had a music store, not like selling instruments, but selling Bob Marley's records and some other things, right? Merch, T-shirts,
mm-hmm.
this and that. And so, he I mean, what a trailblazer is. So you learn from some of these greatest musicians, and you learn that doing all the things you just said, being an entrepreneur. That was my mulching company. Anyway, but being an entrepreneur is very important, right? And not
Right,
just think you can just throw a song. And if you have that mentality, you don't belong in the business. I'm just gonna tell you straight out. You have to have humility, right? You have to play
right,
your music up against what's on the radio, and I'll also step back and say and listen to it as an executive and say, maybe my song's not as good as that. All right,
right.
when you can do that, then you're ready for the business.
Mm, mm.
And thanks so much for having me. I love you
Yes.
all, and I wish I could hug every one of you. You know, and we
Well,
could talk
big
about
hugs
LeBron
to
and
you.
Michael Jordan. What's that?
I said big hugs to you.
Big hugs back.
This is Doc Z's Melodies. More great music coming to you shortly.
World, a small town boy like me don't think it's big enough. It ain't big enough for me. Wanna see what every twist and turn
trying to make, every little thing that I'm trying to be is right there at the end of my neighborhood street. Exit 181, left in the night, had 1,000 reasons. It was time for goodbyes and a change of scenery. Growing up of this godforsaken town. I swear to God, I'm gonna find myself out there. Getting sick of making plans, just trying to find somewhere to land. Open road, it's just me, myself, and now we're finding things to see. Never been so free, and I know I won't be the same when I go home next time. I got a taste of life, 'cause every little plan that I'm trying to make, every little thing that I'm trying to be is right there at the end of my neighborhood street. Exit 181, left in the night, had 1,000 reasons. It was time for goodbyes and a change of scenery. Growing up of this godforsaken town. I swear to God, I'm gonna find myself out there. Getting sick of making plans, just trying to find somewhere to land. I wanna fall in love, wanna see the world, let it take me anywhere the wind blows. I wanna make a home, wanna see my name everywhere the city lights glow. Left in the night, had 1,000 reasons. It was time for goodbyes and a change of scenery. Growing up of this godforsaken town. I swear to God, I'm gonna find myself out there. Getting sick of making plans, just trying to find somewhere to land. Just trying to find somewhere to land. Find somewhere to land.
I'm back, beautiful people. That was Ben Flurnoy with Somewhere to Land. Now enjoy Just Leave by Cena.
If you're so certain that I'm not your person, just leave, just leave, just leave. If I'm not worth it, then don't keep running back. Just leave, just leave, just leave. Look at your reflection. Look at how you mess things up with me. Now you're calling, texting, and I can't stand to hear you speak. Count all of your blessings, whatever is left without me. 'Cause I'm not second guessing. No, this ain't what I need. Oh, if you're so certain that I'm not your person, just leave, just leave, just leave. If I'm not worth it, then don't keep running back. Just leave, just leave, just leave. Ideas of flowers and presents, not all the headaches your words give. I sit there listening to your shit, but babe, you know this isn't therapy. We would never work, we would never last. That's what you would say almost every day. You got me convinced, now I'm done with that. No, this ain't what I need. Oh, if you're so certain that I'm not your person, just leave,
That was Cena with Just Leave. Now enjoy Sydney Lee with Out of Air here on Doc Z's Melodies.
Love you, need you, got me close to fading, 'cause I'm living on you. I've been wondering, do you need every little piece of me? Am I like the air you breathe? I can feel it wearing thin. I wish I could say you were holding on. Now I'm running out of air. There's nothing there. I'm just trying to breathe you in. Even when the heart of us is gone. Show me if you ever can. I'm running out of air. Living in your atmosphere, but I'm burning up in here. And I've been wondering, do you need every little piece of me? Am I like the air you breathe? I can feel it wearing thin. I wish I could say you were holding on. Now I'm running out of air. There's nothing there. I'm just trying to breathe you in. Even when the heart of us is gone. Show me if you ever can. I'm running out of air. I've been wondering, do you need every little breath of me? I can feel it wearing thin. I wish I could say you were holding on. Now I'm running out of air. There's nothing there. I'm just trying to breathe you in. Even when the heart of us is gone. Show me if you ever can. I'm running out of
Out of Air by Sydney Lee. Up next is Find a Way by DLX.
Phone rings, it's night. 2 nights of sleep, on my head, don't know what to do. I know it's true. I don't wanna say it, but you leave me way less than I need you. I know you wanted space so you could think about it. The silence is killing me and I'm freaking out. Wanna say all the words, I wanna erase your doubts, but I don't know how. No, I don't know how. If I could find a way to tell you that I'm sorry that I left you broken hearted and I wish I never hurt you. You could find a way to let me try again. Know I could be a better man. Yeah, I promise if you could just find a way, then I know we could find a way. Yeah, if you could find a way, then I know we could find a way. Find a way back. I try to kill the time and let go, but it's the needing to know that eats you up inside. Thinking about how we got so low, 'cause it was all the little things, conversations and wedding rings had me feeling like we had it all. Don't let this moment of doubt keep us from working it out. just to watch it fall. If I could find a way to tell you that I'm sorry that I left you broken hearted and I wish I never hurt you. You could find a way to let me try again. Know I could be a better man. Yeah, I promise if you could just find a way, then I know we could find a way, yeah, if you could find a way, then I know we could find a way, find a way back. I don't have all the money in the world, but I give it all to you. Good times, bad times, one or more, never more than with you. When things get harder, you can lean on me. No, it won't be easy, but if you could find a way, then I know we could find a way, yeah, if you could find a way, then I know we could find a way, yeah, if you could find a way, then I know we could find a way, yeah, if you could find a way, then I know we could find a way, find a way back.
That was Find a Way by DLX. Now enjoy Lady by Lee J. James featuring Kid Randy and Mr. Sandman.
I'm getting ready to fly away with you. Every time you move yourself on a dance floor, feeling my body glide on every cloud. Every time you grab my hand on the dance floor, and I don't know why you tell me all the love I got for you on the dance floor. You're out of sight every night. You blow my mind, so let's get down. Lady, show me the way you can move me, baby. Oh, let's get down. Lady, show me the way you can move me. When I get my feet talking back on the ground, I feel so much peace of mind on the dancing. I need some more now. Could you let me fuse, baby? And to turn it on my light on the dancing. I'm ready to take off, ready to get moved. Let's get going together on the dancing. On the dancing.
Beautiful people, you were listening to Lady by Lee J. James featuring Kid Randy and Mr. Sandman. Now here's Abby Sword with Can We Dance?
Can we? Can back up straight like you know you're fine. Wonder how long it'll take until you're mine. Now we're swapping sunglasses for a second time. Hope you don't use a stupid pickup line. Open your mouth and you're begging me. Can we dance? Dance all night without a care. Will they watch and will they stare? Can we dance? I'm on fire, lit up under neon stars. And if this will last, we'll have to take our chance. Make it count. Can we dance? Oh, can we dance? Oh, can we dance? Can we dance, baby? Or can we dance, 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 dance? Oh, can we dance? Dance all night without a care. Will they watch? Will they stare? I'm on fire. I'm lit up under neon stars. And if this will last, we'll have to take our chance. Make it count. Can we dance? Oh, baby. Yeah. Oh, can we dance? I know you wanna dance. I know you wanna dance. Oh, can we dance? I know you wanna dance.
This is Doc Z, and you have been listening to Doc Z's Melodies here on Sonic Scout Radio, unleashing the sounds of tomorrow. That was Abby Swart with Can We Dance? I'm signing off, beautiful people, but as always, it's been a pleasure. Don't forget to look me up on Facebook and Instagram at Doc Z's Melodies. Independent artists, send me your music. Let's get it on air. Email me at doczat@sonicscoutradio.com. Tune in next week so that you can get the right prescription, because it's my job to make sure that your musical health equals musical wealth. Bye for now.
Guarantee she spits a lot. Sit back and take a seat for Doxy's Melodies.